summer of 2007. A great fire erupting in Mount Parnon burns approximately 1,900 hectares of forest area, namely 35% of the local black pine forest. The loss of such a large portion of the forest is nothing less than tragic, and the need for restoration is urgent. Black pine is a Mediterranean pine species. In Greece, black pine forests are mostly found in the Peloponnese, Euboea Island, and central Greece, the Pindus mountain range, Mount Olympus, Mount Pieria, Mount Vermio, and Rhodope mountain range. Black pine can grow in poor soil, irrespective of the parent material, while is magnesium tolerant. This is why it can be found in ophiolithic rock formations, such as in northern Pindus mountains, as well as in dolomite rock formations, such as in Mount Olympus and Mount Parnon. Black pine forms dense forests. Tree trunks are straight, almost cylindrical, without very long branches. In their middle age, they are ideal for utility poles due to their elastic, resilient, and lasting wood. Mature black pine wood is valuable raw material for furniture and flooring manufacturers, overlays, and construction. Black pine aged wood contains great quantity of resin, which forms the light wood that is extracted from the stumps of logged trees. Black pine forests are not adapted to regenerate naturally after crown fires, such as Mount Parnon's fire during the summer of 2007. This is due to the fact that black pine does not preserve serotinous cones with dormant living seeds so that these can be released after a forest fire, unlike the case of the Aleppo pine or the Calabrian pine. Such fires erupt usually during summer when both cones and seeds are not mature and tend to burn. Conversely, black pine is resilient to and benefits from ground fires. It is resilient thanks to its extra thick bark, and it benefits from ground fire because the layer of dry needles, which normally prevents the survival and growth of young plants, is burnt and clears the ground so that black pine seedlings can take root, water, and nutritional substances. This way, ground fires, which do not tend to expand in large areas, are beneficial to the natural regeneration of the species. After each fire, the main questions that immediately arise are the following. What do we do now? Is action required? If so, what kind of action? First of all, according to the Greek constitution and forest laws, the first thing to do is declare the burnt area as under reforestation. Then we take rapid action in terms of soil preservation, which is the primary requirement so that vegetation can grow back in the burnt land. Soil preservation usually takes place through soil erosion control methods, using log barriers and branch screens. This practice was successfully applied in Mount Parnon, already within the first few months following the fire. These actions are crucial to a forest's natural regeneration, which is always the best way of restoration. After we protect the soil and ensure natural regeneration, the next question arising is whether we should proceed with artificial restoration and in which areas. The answer has primarily ecological aspect, as well as financial and technical aspects, because of the high cost of seed stocks for seeding or growing seedlings if thousands of forest area hectares need to be restored artificially. In the case of Mount Parnon, through the LIFE project, with the cooperation of the Greek Biotope Wetlands Centre and the Forest Service of Sparti, an assessment of the fire's impact on the forest ecosystem was performed. The impacts on the vegetation, the flora, and the fauna were assessed, focusing on determining the forest's natural regeneration ability. By using satellite images, satellite GPS receivers, geographic information systems, and other means, the completion of data collection of the necessary information was fast and accurate. Unburnt forest islands and individual surviving trees were mapped within the burnt area as they are expected to act as natural regeneration centers. Usually the area that can be naturally restored covers a radius of 50 to 70 meters around these forest islands and individual surviving trees. In Mount Parnon, there were unburnt forest islands of an area of 420 hectares, whereas there were remaining surviving trees dispersed in an additional area of 114 hectares. Unburnt islands and individual surviving trees will produce seeds for natural regeneration within a radius of almost 70 hectares around them. Through the LIFE project, for the first time, a structured approach was developed and applied for the selection of areas where it would be environmentally useful and technically feasible to implement restoration measures. The structured approach is a 5-step process.
Το πρώτο βήμα αφορά την επιλογή κριτηρίων αποκλεισμού και ιεράρχησης των εκτάσεων που είναι δυνατόν να αποκατασταθούν. Το δεύτερο βήμα αφορά την εφαρμογή των κριτηρίων αυτών, δηλαδή τον αποκλεισμό κάποιων εκτάσεων και την ιεράρχηση των υπόλοιπων. Στο τρίτο βήμα έχουμε την προκαταρκτική επιλογή των εκτάσεων που θα αποκατασταθούν. Στο τέταρτο βήμα γίνεται ο έλεγχος των εκτάσεων που έχουν επιλεγεί από το προηγούμενο ότι πράγματι είναι κατάλληλες για την αποκατάσταση με εργασία πεδίου. Και τελευταίο είναι το πέμπτο βήμα, στο οποίο γίνεται η επιλογή των μέτρων αποκατάστασης. Αν δηλαδή θα κάνουμε σπορές, θα κάνουμε φυτεύσεις ή θα εφαρμόσουμε κάποια άλλα συνοδευτικά μέτρα για την αποκατάσταση.
The above selection criteria comprise exclusion criteria as well as classification criteria. Based on these criteria, the areas eligible for regeneration in Mount Parnon were classified and separated to areas that could be readily restored through LIFE and those that could be restored within the next few years according to available resources. After applying all the other steps of this structured approach, 219 hectares of burnt black pine forest were given priority for regeneration through the LIFE project. For the restoration of the said area, approximately 600,000 black pine seedlings were planted, and these were provided by the Forest Service of Sparti, the Special Secretariat for Forests, and the Eastern Macedonia and Thrace Reforestation Directorate. Implementing the burnt black pine forest restoration in Mount Parnon was, as is always the case with every attempt to restore burnt forests, a journey of seeds. The journey starts with the collection of the seeds. In the case of the black pine, seeds are inside the cones, which are harvested in late autumn from groups of trees that remained intact. Thus, a necessary stock of seeds is developed for the purpose of growing seedlings or proceeding with seeding for the restoration of the burnt forest. Pine cones are packed and labeled in terms of when, where, and at which altitude they were collected, as well as with other useful information. With this label, they travel to the seeds central warehouse of the Special Secretariat for Forests in the area of Amygdaleza, Attica, at the foot of Mount Parnonas.
Το υλικό αυτό, οι κόνοι δηλαδή, ήρθαν στο οικοκυστήριο και αφού καθαριστήκανε, έγινε η αποπτερίγωση των σπόρων και στη συνέχεια ο καθαρισμός τους. Πριν τους διαθέσουμε πίσω στις δασικές υπηρεσίες για να παράγουν πια τα φυτά τα οποία θα ήταν απαραίτητα να τα χρησιμοποιήσουν στην περίπτωση της εκτάσεις εκείνες όπου δεν υπήρξε φυσική αναγέννηση, το υλικό αυτό εξετάζεται όσον αφορά τα ποιοτικά χαρακτηριστικά του. Αυτά τα ποιοτικά χαρακτηριστικά του έχουν να κάνουν με την φυτρωτικότητα του σπόρου και κάποιες άλλες παραμέτρους που είναι σημαντικές για την κεντρική αποθήκη δασικών σπόρων όσον αφορά την διατήρησή τους στα ψυγεία των εγκαταστάσεων που υπάρχουν εδώ πέρα.
Over 1,500 pine cones have to be cleaned per kilogram of cones which arrives in Amygdaleza in order for around 25,000 black pine seedlings to be produced. After staying for a few months in Attica, in late winter, seeds continue their journey to a forest tree nursery where they will grow into young seedlings. On other occasions, they travel directly into the forests for seeding. In the case of Mount Parnon's black pine forests, the seeds traveled northbound to Organi Forest Nursery near the city of Komotini. When they reach the nursery, every 2 or 3 seeds are placed together in a special container filled with the proper soil mixture and then are carried to the nursery. There, for a substantial period of time, under the care of experts, they are germinated, watered, weeded, and they grow. Thus, in November 2010, young seedlings were ready to return to their birthplace, Mount Parnon. In 3 routes, from December 2010 to February 2011, the seedlings traveled from Organi to Mount Parnon, a 14-hour journey that carried them from Rhodope Mountains to the narrows of Nestos River, the Macedonian wetlands, and the foot of Mount Olympus, before the seedlings ended up on the slopes of Mount Parnon, in Agriani, and Polydroso. At the end of their journey, seedlings were planted, a process that lasted 4 months, from December 2010 to March 2011. 150 to 250 seedlings were planted per 1,000 square meters, depending on the soil condition. The seed's journey came to an end after 290 hectares of burnt forest were reforested. The journey was a success with the aid and under the care of forest workers, scientists, seed preservation experts, truck drivers, and others. The Forest Service of Sparti is in charge of the supervision and care of the planting process. The restoration work does not end here, however. Progress monitoring and evaluation in terms of the forest's natural regeneration, as well as of the artificially restored areas, will determine whether any corrective measures need to be taken and will ensure, eventually, the re-establishment of a robust black pine forest in Mount Parnon. Within the framework of the LIFE project, 33 monitoring plots were established so that the natural regeneration and the artificial restoration processes could be monitored and evaluated. With regard to natural regeneration, the density of the growing seedlings is monitored, as well as the seedling's survival and height increase rate. The monitoring takes place along a transect, which starts vertically to the boundary line between the burnt and the intact forest, or unburnt forest island. With regard to artificial restoration, the seedling's survival and height increase rates are measured. This way, the overall technical restoration method is assessed, as well as specific components thereof, such as the planting technique, the seedling's quality, etc. What is also evaluated is whether the choice of specific spots for implementing technical regeneration was correct. Measurements take place within sample survey areas of 2,500 square meters, with a dimension of 50 times 50 meters that are representative of the abiotic environment diversity. All monitoring plots were permanently marked, since for the entire duration of the LIFE project, they will be monitored annually, whereas subsequently, data will be collected in scarcer intervals for many years, thus contributing to gathering scientific knowledge on the post-fire evolution of black pine forests in general and of Mount Parnonas forests in particular. The first results show that natural regeneration is successful, since seedlings to a radius up to 80 meters from surviving trees have been recorded, with densities around 1 seedling per square meter, with the said seedlings appearing to be particularly sturdy. Reforestation is also successful, with survival rates reaching 90%, with higher survival rates being recorded in higher altitude areas.
El problema de los grandes incendios forestales es un problema general a todos los países del Mediterráneo, incluido Grecia y España. Por lo tanto, el tipo de problemas son muy similares. El tipo de bosques afectados también es muy similar. En el caso que nos ocupa, en el Monte Parnos, tenemos un tipo de bosque muy sensible a los incendios forestales, el pino negro. También lo tenemos en España. En España ha afectado miles y miles de hectáreas, que han hecho que este tipo de árbol haya desaparecido prácticamente. Lo que hemos ido viendo en esta visita es que se han realizado tratamientos después del fuego que han permitido luchar contra la erosión, que es un problema grave después de los fuegos, y también han realizado una cosa que me ha sorprendido positivamente, que es el hecho de dejar gran parte de los pies quemados sin cortar, de manera que pueden mejorar la regeneración posterior del fuego.
Η τοπική κοινωνία και το ευρύ κοινό γίνονται κοινωνοί του έργου και των επιτευγμάτων του μέσα από τις δράσεις που υλοποιούνται από το Φορέα Διαχείρισης Όρους Πάρνονα και Υγροτόπου Μουστού.
The local society and the general public are informed about the project and its achievements through the implemented actions by the management body of Mount Parnon and Mustos wetland. To this end, a project website has been developed and regularly updated. Brochures have been issued, whereas awareness-raising activities are organized at local schools so that the highest possible number of pupils may participate. The project and its achievements thereof have become known to experts on post-fire forest management in Greece and abroad through a convention that was organized in 2009 in Sparta, as well as through presentations in various conventions held in Greece and abroad, and through its promotion on relevant websites. Today, although the impact of the fire of 2007 is still evident, the effective synergy of nature and man has established the prerequisites so that the forest can be restored to its former glory, contribute to the preservation of biodiversity, and provide its valuable services once again.